Okay, this video is going to be a brief demo of how to play the For Want of a Chair game in the ClassEx software. So to start out, you need to go to the ClassEx homepage and request a username and password. Within 1 to 3 days, you'll get that back, and then once you've logged in, this will be your welcome screen. To find the For Want of a Chair game, you first need to click Repository in the upper part of the screen, and this will take you to all of the games that have been created by anybody that wants to make it public. You can see a bunch of different games here. To find the chair game, just search chair and then go with the most recent version, and I've already imported it, but if not, there'd be a little plus here that you could click. As you can see in most of the other games, I haven't imported, and that will import the game for you to use. So once you have the game, you can hit play. And at this point here, there'll be a start button, begin tax round button. And so at this point, you could have your students log in. Remember that all participants will have a separate password. There's one password for all participants. So when you get your login information as the instructor, it will provide a participant login password. And so no matter how many students you have, 10, 20, 25, all of them will use the same password. A really nice feature of ClassEx is that it allows you to demo games yourself. So we're actually going to create a bunch of test participants that I'll be able to control. And we recommend that you do this yourself before actually playing the game live. We're going to create 8 different test participants, which is about the lowest number you'd want to play with. As it is with only 8, we're not going to be able to increase our social welfare that much just because there won't be many trades that happen, since there won't be many players without a chair. And so at this point, once everybody is logged in, you can see that there's 8 players logged in. You would play the game of musical chairs. After you play the game of musical chairs, then once some students are sitting and a couple of them are left standing, then you can hit the start button. And at this point, every player's screen is going to change. And each participant's screen will give you the option to click either I have a chair, I do not have a chair. And by the way, this app also works on cell phones, on mobiles. It would look exactly the same as this. So the screen, the participant screen would look the same. So we're going to say that the first 6 people have a chair. And that the last 2 participants do not have a chair. These are actually the first 2 participants. And now that all 8 players have entered, we hit continue. And so before we start trading, it's important to see, okay, well, what are the social benefits? What are the costs and what are the net social benefits given the current allocation of who has a chair and a meeting and who isn't? And so after clicking continue once, you get to the first of what are several calculation stages that will happen throughout the course of the game. Anytime you hit a calculation stage, it's important to wait about 5 seconds before clicking continue again. And once we click continue, we can see, okay, our private benefits are about $36,000, social costs about $3,000, and then our net social benefits. And so at this point, you can display this. At any point, you can display this to all players on a projector, and you can show them, okay, private benefits, net social costs, net social benefits, and say that now we're going to allow trading of the chairs. And remember, if you have a chair, you're going to be able to emit and therefore have higher profits. So at this point, we can hit continue to begin the first trading round. And so now each player's screen has changed to show them their profit with a chair, their profit without a chair, and then the difference. So this is player 8 here. You can see ID 8. They have a chair. This picture of a chair is there. And this is useful because the player can say, okay, if someone offers me anything more than $9,149, I'd be willing to sell my chair. And there's a big difference for the amounts depending on the player. You can see here that some players are willing to sell their chair for very low amounts, only $8. Other players, much higher amounts. These are all the players with a chair. Then finally we come to players 1 and 2 that do not have a chair. Comparing the 2, you can see that here it says they have 1 chair. Here it says they have no items, and the picture of the chair is faded out. Also, if you have a chair, they have the option to sell. If you do not, they have the option to buy. So player 2 has a difference of $893, so they'd be willing to pay up to this amount to buy a chair. player one a difference of $3,544. So now the players generally without a chair will start bargaining and negotiating and trying to find someone that's willing to sell them a chair. So for player one here, they might go around saying, oh, I'll give someone $1,000, $1,500, and then hopefully they get a taker. So if we compare player one, say, to player six, maybe player one says, oh, I'd like to buy a chair for $2,200. And player six says, okay. And this can work either way. From player six perspective, they would enter the ID one because they're interested in selling to player one. And let's say they agree on a price of $2,200. So they're going to offer $2,200 and hit the sell button. And now that player six has hit that, you can see this offer here that's for $2,200, and they can choose to withdraw it. And then on player one's screen, they'll then be given this offer, and they can either accept or reject it. They hit accept, then the screen will change. You'll see the contract that already appeared, and now they'll have a chair, and now player six does not have a chair, and you can see the contract there. And players can do multiple trades. So player one just bought a chair. If then someone offered them even more, they could then sell the chair and so on. But for simplicity's sake, we'll just leave it at one trade. That's not happening per person. So for person number two, they are willing to pay up to $893 to buy a chair. Let's just try and maximize the difference here. And so let's say that they say, all right, I'd like to buy a chair for $100. Well, player five, that's a good deal for them. And so from player two's perspective, they would enter in the other column, player five, and then the offer, they're going to say offer $200. They hit buy, and then player five has the option to either accept or reject that trade. And so if they hit accept, now once again they lose their chair, and player two has gained their chair. And so this can go on as long as necessary, and all the trades will populate here on the instructor screen, so you can see how much each trade is valued at. After all the trades are done, the instructor can hit continue. Double check that with OK. That'll proceed to a calculation stage. So this is where you, again, want to wait about 5 seconds. Then we hit continue again. And now you can see the private benefits, social costs, and net social benefits, both before trading and after trading. And so you can do as many, you can do additional rounds if you'd like. You could do start round two and take away more chairs, say, okay, for that example, we just had 6 chairs, which meant that 2 participants were left standing. We could make it 5 chairs, which would leave 3 participants standing, and so on, and then compare the net social benefits. After you've done as many rounds of that, you can walk students through why this is happening and make sure they understand that, oh, we're getting to a more efficient outcome through this trading, as the firms that gain more from polluting are the ones that ultimately gain a chair. Okay, after you've done as many trading rounds as you want, click the begin tax round button. And so this operates a little differently. You can see here that the instructor has the option to offer, to set the tax level at $100 increments. So I'm kind of going to pick one at random here. But we could say, all right, let's put the tax level at $1,000 and then continue. And now, once again, each player is going to make their decision. Each participant will decide. They can see the current chair tax, which is $1,000. You can see that the profit for their chair is $8,185, which is just their original profit for emitting minus the amount of the tax. And then the profit without a chair remains the same. And so now you choose. And so this is pretty straightforward. Each player should just pick wherever one is higher. So they want a chair. This player would also want a chair. Just go through them one by one. Whatever one's higher. This player does not want a chair because they'd actually have a negative payout if they emitted. This player narrowly does not want a chair. Player doesn't want a chair. Okay, and once all of the players' decisions has been tabulated, you can see all 8 have entered their decision. We can hit the continue button now. Once again, hit the calculation stage, wait about 5 seconds. Okay, and so now our tax round will be compared to the final round from the trading game. So if you remember, the final net social benefits was about 35,000 in the practice round we did, and that compares to the tax where we have the private benefits plus the tax revenue minus the social cost, and this gives us the net social benefits. And if you'd like, as an instructor, you could start another tax round and do as many as you want to show how a higher or lower tax can potentially change the net social benefits. For troubleshooting, if players get into any sort of problem, you can always restart the game by hitting this button here. That will restart the game, and then at the beginning of the game, you can also adjust the parameters. Mainly, the big one is to change the chair cost coefficient if you want to make the social cost of polluting by having a chair either higher or lower. Like I said, we highly recommend that you do actually go through at least a game or two, just as I did, create as many test participants as you'd like. That way, the instructor has a firm understanding of how the game works. Hopefully that answers all of your questions. Thanks for listening.